Me and Calvin always said we'd never not want to make a game that is trying to pioneer something, which is kind of where the dog kind of feeds into this as well. We've got this really nice community of people who just pretty much want to talk about their pets and share pet photos and fan art.
It's like therapy. If you're having a bad day, you just open up the Discord channel and everything just goes away.
For us, it's about making sure that people who back our game get the game that we promised to them. We made Imprint because we are storytellers. So as long as we can keep telling these stories, that's what our plan is.
Hello and welcome to CultureScape, the show that interviews the geek creators and influencers who built nerd culture. I'm your host, Pete Pischke, and today I have a doggo-sized treat interview for you today. With me here are the indie developers for the new Kickstarter game project, Hounded, a third-person narrative adventure game where you play a British dog named Duke, who is on an adventure to save his master. Hounded is being developed by Imprint Studios, an independent UK-based game studio founded by ex-Sony TT Games, I'm going to guess that's Telltale Games, Cloud Imperium Games, and Sega developers, as well as a pack of supporting doggos. And I have with me here Jack Walker and Calvin Williams. They are the heads of Imprint, and they're going to talk to us about the world of indie game development, their game, and what it will take to get my dog, either one, preferably on the right, but I like them both,
cute,
in the game. Completely unbiased in this interview, as you can tell.
No agenda.
Welcome to the show, guys. Thanks for coming on CultureScape.
Yeah,
thanks for having us.
Yeah, no, this is excited. I remember hearing first from Frost over on Twitter and YouTube. I know he does the Cold Takes channel on YouTube. I love his game development commentary, and that's kind of what keyed me into you guys. I love dogs. I love the game Stray. Unfortunately, features a cat, which is wrong, but it does. And it's like, okay, someone here wants to fix that, sort of, kind of. All right, so here we are.
Yeah, exactly. It was great. We put a call out to content creators at the start of our Kickstarter campaign, or just before our Kickstarter campaign, and Frost was somebody who reached out. So as soon as we saw that, it was great to see him then share some of our content. So glad that you saw it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, tell us a little bit about yourselves, gentlemen, and how your studio came together and what inspired you to take on this project.
So, been in the industry over 10 years now. Started working at Sony, doing QA, working on titles like Killzone Shadowfall, and eventually progressed to Evolution Studios to work on Drive Club. And then where I met Jack was at Cloud Imperium Games, and I was there for a very long time, but we met each other. I was sat next to him. He'd been in the industry a little bit longer than myself, so he was a bit of a mentor for me at the start, and still is to this day, to be honest.
Debatable. It's the other way around now.
And eventually our paths brought. Jack left, and eventually we met back up at a studio called Bulkhead, where we were both art directors, and it was a really good test bed for us to figure out how to work well together and the direction that we want to push things in. And conversations naturally arose with what we want to do in the future and how we'd like to approach things. And it just came to a natural point where there was an opportunity presented into us where the timing was right and we wanted to go off on our own and start this adventure. And from that, it was then a question of what is our business? So the way that we started our business is as a work-for-hire company. So we sell our art services still to this day to other studios, and that any profit that we make from that, we then funnel back into our own internal developments. And during that process, at the start, we were trying to figure out, well, okay, what is this project that we want to start? What will be the first Imprint game? And we had multiple different ideas that might still see the light of day at some point in the future. I know Jack is very keen with some of the themes that are in there. So it would be surprising if we didn't broach those themes at some point, but it was at that time when the idea for Hounded first came about.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't realize that you guys, I mean, obviously I thought you guys, of course, had traditional game development experience, but that you guys had been actually doing work in the background before you even started the Kickstarter is interesting.
Yeah.
Why Hounded? Like, what? You guys are huge dog lovers? Is this a British thing? You're British. This is a British dog, British game?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, yeah, we're both big dog lovers. That's one key ingredient.
but also, it's set in this Flintlock fantasy world that's inspired by the British Isles, and we both grew up, very close to the Peak District. We both love the island that we live on, even all of its flaws, and we're trying to, capture that in a sort of snow globe and put that into the game, along with like all the feelings, emotions, and characters that you get from visiting this quirky, quaint, which essentially British place.
And I think the way that we came into utilizing a dog, as Jack said, it was important for us because we are dog lovers, but it was also important for us for the fact that we had this world and we wanted to tell a story within that from a unique perspective. So we toyed around different ideas, but ultimately it came down to a dog being the perfect vessel for your journey through this world, whether that be for narrative reasons or for specific gameplay reasons, for like places that you can get into, etc.
From what I've seen for the materials, it looks like you guys are kind of like going for a sort of fantastical history setting for this dog adventure. It's not in modern times. Do I have that right, or is that just way wrong?
No, that's completely right. And I'm glad the the material that you've seen is alluded to that, because it's 100% what we're going for. We're calling it Flintlock Fantasy, with like a Tesla punk twist. So you kind of imagine like the the way we're kind of pitching it is if what if electricity was discovered 100 years prior to the Regency era, which is roughly where we're kind of set, which is like early 1800s, and seeing how that changes the environment and changes the world, and how you are able to interact with these contraptions and things. We're very inspired by games such as Fable, Dishonored, The Order 1886. And if you played those games, you kind of know what to kind of expect from like the level of technology and how Tesla Punk feeds into it.
Those are good examples. Fable, of course, fantastic game. Unfortunately, the wonderful British studio got bought out, and that
yeah, what a shame.
Yeah, you're right. Order 1886 is a beautiful game. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, still to this day.
Yeah, we both love that game.
Yeah, it's one that we continually reference to this day. They were very ahead of the time with what they were trying to do, and it is a shame that we won't ever see any more from that world. Yeah. But what they left us with definitely inspired us a lot.
Yeah. They did a lot in terms of pushing boundaries at the time, which is just massively inspirational for us as a small studio. Because I feel like with the tools that we have these days, there's so much you can do. And me and Calvin always said we'd never not want to make a game that is trying to pioneer something, which is kind of where the dog kind of feeds into this as well, because there aren't that many games that have a dog protagonist. And if they do have them, they tend to be quite whimsical, where like we will have an element of that, but the primary focus is to tell this kind of like deep, sort of hopeful story of like love and loss and rebellion. So that's kind of where we're taking it.
Yeah, no, and the two ways I'd like to take this here, obviously getting to the dog side of it, but also, of course, kind of the quick elevator pitch of people's like, what if it was Stray but dogs? Stray is the game, you play a cat. It's kind of like a venture. I don't even know how to put this. It's like an adventure platformer, and you play a cat, and what is supposed to be inspired by Kowloon City out in China. Great game, did really well. It's made by Blue 12 Studio. It's like 2022. It's not 2023. It's 2022 game. How did you guys come to that? I mean, do you like that comparison? I mean,
yeah, we do actually. We think that's very, very complimentary. And when Stray came out, we both played it and we're both messaging each other saying like, this is incredible. Like the vibe, like, so just simplistic, like the concept. It's like you play a cat in a sort of semi post-apocalyptic world. Who knows what that world is, but you can see its influences are there. And me and Calvin were both like, there are influences too. We love that kind of stuff. Like you can see a little bit of Simon Stalenhag in there. And obviously you mentioned Kowloon City. Like these are all things that we vibe with as well.
Yeah, and in terms of the comparison, like like Jack said, it is, we do see it as a compliment, and it is a very easy way for people to get on board with what Hounded is. Obviously, to us, it's much more than that. But if you want to get on at a ground level and you want to explain to somebody, saying Stray with a dog, immediately get somebody in the door, then you can explain further where our game goes.
Yeah, we did. Obviously, when we first came up with the game, we were speaking to people about it. We obviously used our elevator pitch. We weren't just going in there saying it's Stray but dog, because obviously it's very different, really. But having spoken to people, a lot of people were approaching us saying, "Is that like the Stray game but a dog?" We were like, "Hang on, maybe this is a faster way to sort of communicate what we're going for." So thank you, Blue 12, for paving the way, because
No, definitely.
they set the bar very, very high.
Yeah.
In terms of what to expect from a kind of animal adventure game.
Exactly. And it's on us to not let the dog side down.
Yeah, then that's a good way, great place to bring this. So you go with the dog, Duke. How did you decide on Duke, especially like his breed? Like, did you play around with different, like, okay, maybe we'll try a short hair Weiler, maybe, I don't know, maybe you should try a poodle. Maybe the poodle works. But how'd you guys figure that out?
It's a really good question. Obviously, there are hundreds of thousands of breeds we could have chosen, and we went with a Border Collie. I think two main reasons from me, and maybe Calvin, you can add to this, but one, you kind of brought it up at the very beginning. It's associated with the British Isles, that breed. It's a working dog. And secondly, there is a narrative reason, and it is kind of philosophical and a little bit spiritual, and it kind of connects to this this force we have in the world called the tide, and the nature of him being black and white reflects that. I don't want to go into too much detail there, but
not too many spoilers. I get it.
Yeah. And we're still working on the story, ironing things out. So I don't want to overpromise and under-deliver on something in case we do decide to cut that element. But there is a tie-in to some of the themes we're playing with.
Yeah, and I think, as Jack said, then the element of it being a working dog, like it's set in this rural location and in a fictional version of the British Isles, it was important to us to have that representation of a typical farm that you would have, and they would have the Border Collies there. So for me, as soon as we had that in place, I was like, that makes so much sense. And then when you see it in situ with the environment around it, it's like, oh yeah, this clearly makes sense. It doesn't seem out of place, even though he has his purple eye. It's like when you see Duke himself, it just fits.
Yeah, that's right. And from a narrative perspective as well, it makes sense that he's a working dog. Again, I don't want to go into too many details, but your master's background requires a dog that is able to help him perform certain tasks. So it was important that it wasn't a little poodle, even though we love all dog breeds. But like a Border Collie working dog, it kind of made a lot of narrative sense for us.
Yeah, and I think that ties into a lot of questions that we've had have been, or requests, I guess, have been people asking us, can you make it so it's any dog that you can play as? Can we have like a dog creator character selection screen? Which of course we'd love to be able to make people's dreams come true with that, but firstly, the size of our studio, we want to make sure that the animal that we give to you is high quality and nothing below that, just to give you more selection. So for us, it was pick a dog and make sure that we take that dog to the highest level that we can, and then along with that, it was the narrative element of it as well. So even though people are asking for it, it's something that we just can't do, not in this game at least.
That is fair, and actually that brings into the next thing is you guys are doing this Kickstarter. We have seen some pretty successful Kickstarter games as of late, and that seems more solid than it was for quite a while. But it's still, it seems like it's an interesting but kind of tricky game environment, because you do end up with a problem of overpromising, under-delivering, feature creep, basically gets forced upon you, whether it makes sense or not. When you were putting together the Kickstarter, even now, how are you thinking about managing those expectations? And like as a studio and as developers, how are you being mindful of all that?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. We actually had a conversation about that today because there's a couple of games that are doing extremely well, and we were talking about it gets into that range where it's great for the company, of course, but then they start introducing elements that they previously hadn't envisioned, and you do get that feature creep then. So for us, it was about starting out and setting these goals in mind, knowing what it would take to achieve them, and making sure that they still fit with our overall vision for the game. So anything that we've added has always been a plan to be added. And anything that you see that could potentially be a future stretch goal is something that we've already had in mind. So for us, feature creep is the number one thing that we definitely don't want to have. Because like you said, over-promising and under-delivering is the worst place to be, especially with something that's crowdfunded. For us, it's about making sure that the people who back our game get the game that we've promised to them.
Yeah, 100%.
That is but I do love indie games. I love Kickstarter development. I think it enables some really great things, but there are some other things I'm like, oh, I remember Mighty Number 9. That's now 10 years old this year, and that is a classic example of that.
That was like one of the first ones that I remember seeing being so big, obviously with like the Mega Man offshoot. And of course, we came from we've worked at Cloud Imperium Games, which was making Star Citizen, which is obviously notoriously one of the biggest Kickstarters for games. So we very much have seen what that can look like when it goes the other way. And yeah, we have no intention of being like that. But I think you brought up a good point in terms of Kickstarter having a bit of a resurgence at the minute, or crowdfunding in general having a bit of a resurgence. And I think that's the natural way of things with the state of the industry the last couple of years, with publishers not wanting to spend as much money or take as many risks, I guess. People are then pitching to the internet essentially, and then trying to have their game live or die by public perception. So I think we'll still see a bit of growth with Kickstarter and other crowdfunding campaigns while this shift in publisher spending is happening.
All right. Well, I don't want to over-focus here on the financing. I don't know how I'm interested in it, but I don't know how much the audience might be interested in talking about that. So, as you're working on this project, what are kind of in your heads, at least right now, what's the plan? Like, when do you think the game might be ready for release? Do you guys have like a 3-year plan, a 4-year plan? How are you treating the game development?
So, I mean, we always have a long-term plan in mind. For Hounded specifically, the development, it was important to us that it isn't multiple years development. We want to be able to put a game together and ship it in a reasonable amount of time. So our development cycle is looking to be less than under 2 years. And for us, it like I say, it's about making a game, achieving what we want to with it, moving on to the next one, achieving what we want with that. We don't want to be one of those studios that's taken 10 years because it just becomes unfeasible as a studio, and you just get burnt out on things.
Yeah.
So for us, it's about being able to tell as many stories as we can, because ultimately we made Imprint to be because we are storytellers. So as long as we can keep telling these stories, that's what our plan is.
Once this project is done, I hope it does really well, guys. It looks cool.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
You guys came out with you came up with a very strong Kickstarter. It's done very well, which was really nice to see.
Yeah, really, really surprised how well it did, especially like the first 4 days. Like it got funded, and me and Cam were both like, didn't expect this. Obviously, you wanted to succeed, and you try your best to make it succeed. Yeah, like the amount of support that people have given us has just been absolutely incredible and overwhelming, to be honest.
Yeah, the biggest fear was pressing that launch button and then just seeing it stay at 0 for 30 days. Realistically, obviously that isn't usually the case, but it was the worst case scenario, and we're just very glad that it's taken off how it has. And it's meant that we've been able to bring our Discord live, which has brought more people in. And now we've got this really nice community of people who just pretty much want to talk about their pets and share pet photos and fan art. And it's just a really nice...
It's like therapy. If you're having a bad day, you just open up the Discord channel and everything just goes away. It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So once this project wraps up, can you give us a taste? What do you want? What's the future for Imprint? I know you guys kind of wanted to keep that on the wraps, but like, is you gonna keep going to the dog verse? Is it just dogs games from here on out, or what do you get? What are your hopes? What are your dreams?
Yeah, I mean, we really enjoy working on this game, and probably can't say this, but I'm gonna. Is in my head, this is a trilogy of games. Whether or not we get to do that is a massive question. I hope we do. Duke's arc will complete in the first game, but we already have ways to continue that and explore the world if that's what the fans want. If they want more of Duke and to go deeper into that world and his character, then hopefully we can do that, and we have got a plan that makes sense and isn't just thrown together because there isn't all of a sudden a demand for a sequel, and we've got to meet that demand. Like there is an outline and plan there. So hopefully, all things being well, we'll have this nice cohesive package that will kind of stand the test of time, which is something that me and Calvin also talked about when we started Imprint, is making games that aren't necessarily just games. They're like an experience. And I think back to like some of my favorite games growing up, like Monkey Island, The Broken Sword, but also a little bit more recently, I'm dating myself now, like the Dishonored series is like, they just stand the test of time, these games. One, because they have that amazing sort of like watercolor stylized kind of look, but also the world itself is so captivating. And even though it's like super mega dystopian, there's something cozy about jumping back in and just sitting in the shadows and listening to gods have a conversation or whatever. So it's those kinds of games that we're interested in making and treating it as an experience.
Nice. That's totally up my boat. We had Rafael Colantonio on the show earlier this year.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Huge fan of his work.
I've never met him, but I'm a huge fan too.
Yeah, that like what Jack said. Like we obviously have these. We have plans for there to be more of Duke. But also we have lots of ideas all the time that float around, and there's lots of different directions that we could go. But right now our focus is definitely dog related.
Are you guys currently dog owners? You're doggo fans? Got any dogs at home you want to tell us about?
Well, yeah, I have a dog called Bonnie. She's a collie poo, and yeah, she's great.
Yeah, and then we have Jeannie, who's a border collie. So I mean, you're seeing there's some bias here, but
yeah, just a little bit.
There's a little.
Inspiration's got to come from somewhere, right? But Bonnie, that Jack mentioned, you actually see her in our Kickstarter video. She came with us for the filming day that day.
She's really well behaved as well, which is so unusual.
Yeah, we didn't actually get too many bloopers from her. She was too well behaved.
Yeah. Border Collies are a great breed. I had a neighbor for years and years and years, and she would do trying to think of it as the competition where you're like I'm drawing blanks here.
Like agility and
they herd the sheep around.
Yeah.
Fascinating. It takes a lot of dedication, but that breed is just very, very friendly, very reliable.
They're hyper focused, aren't they, as well? Our animator, shout out to Connor, is brilliant, and he's super observant, and he just spends a lot of his days like studying the way border collies move, just to try and get some of those nuances in. Because like Calvin said earlier, it's like we're not just making a generic dog game. It's like we really want to hone in on this.
Are you motion capturing dogs? Is that part of the?
No, we're not actually.
I don't know how could you do that?
You can do that. And I'm pretty certain. Maybe your fans can correct me later, but the cat in Stray was mocapped, or at least some of that data was used, and then hand animation went in over the top. But we're going all out with hand animation on this, just because, and it kind of links back to the points I'm making about games like Dishonored, because it's a handcrafted, human-made game. It will give you a certain kind of, hopefully, like more memorable, like tangible kind of feeling. If that makes sense.
And it just means
like
that we get
a level of nuance. Sorry, go on.
It's all right. I was going to say it just means that we get to save the dogs as reference instead. Then, so any of our dogs that we use, or any of the animal shelters that we're speaking to, it just means that we can utilize what we see there, record video footage, and use that as reference instead of it just being a one-to-one translation.
Yeah, much easier just to sit there and watch a dog play, than hook them up to an accent or something, like a doggy
exactly.
accent.
No, I know what you're saying about Dishonored. You're looking for a more intentioned artistical look there.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So do you guys have to like keep animal experts on staff, or do you have people you just go out to and you're like, okay, we need to learn more about X breed, or we need to find X or Y dog, can you help us?
No, so we've got contacts that we can reach out to, and there's been some universities who've talked with us and want to work with us in the future, which potentially might happen. But for right now, it's just us in-house, and then, like I mentioned, there's a couple of animal shelters that we're in contact with and potentially going to be working with in the future. One local to the Peak District called Windy Way, and then one that's a bigger one in the UK called Dogs Trust that we're talking to right now. So there's a lot of people there that we can reach out to, and we will reach out to as time goes on.
Yeah, we also have our amazing fans and backers in the Discord who we have asked if they have any dog like reference videos or footage that they want to share, like please do, and they have been sharing it. So we have lots and lots and lots of video footage that our animator Connor is just, he has the best job. He just sits there watching dog videos all day and working. But yeah, it's
all work.
The support that we're getting and the fans that we have, everyone's really turned up and they really want to see it succeed. So
yes. And one of those, Amaranth the streamer, she actually purchased the highest tier. So she's chosen one of her dogs that's going to be in the game called Knox. So she actually sent us through, I think it must be about 500 images and videos on a Google Drive. So it's just like we have so much data because she's a huge dog lover and she has like agility courses set up and things. So we've got so much coming in from everybody. It's amazing.
That's awesome. I was going to say, that's pretty clever of your Discord fans. Like, this is how we're going to get our dogs in the back end.
Yeah. Like, that walk looks like my dog.
All right. Well, guys, this was a great discussion. Congratulations on the Kickstarter. Looking forward to this game. Is there anything else you would like to share with the audience to know about your project, or any thoughts?
I mean, just to thank everyone so far who's been a part of it, and for anybody who hasn't checked it out yet, to please go through to Kickstarter and search for Hounded. There's a video on there that outlines everything, and you can see our plan and our breakdown for the world. And just with your support, it just means that Hounded can be exactly the game that we want it to be. So if you want to get your name in the credits, you can chuck in £5, or all the way up to the top tier if you want merch, or if you want to be a part of the world. There's higher tiers as well, but for me, it's just about check it out and see if it's up your alley.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jack. Thank you, Calvin, for taking the time to come on to CultureScape today. This was a nice, breezy conversation. I'm looking forward to this one. I don't know if people could see, I'm a little dog obsessed myself, so
we fully agree with that sentiment.
All right, guys.
Thank you for having us, Peter.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, guys, we're wrapping up here. Thank you for taking the time to watch CultureScape. Couldn't be done without the viewers like you, and of course, my editor, Chris Holloway, who makes me look way more competent than I actually am. And until next time, my friends, keep geeking out. Hey there, gang! If you are a fan of CultureScape, and I know you are, and want to get involved in supporting the show, well, now you can! By joining the CultureScape Patreon, you'll help support me and my editor, Chris, as we create the show and produce more quality journalism. For just $5 or $10 a month, you not only help us, but get access to our exclusive members-only Discord. You'll also get to vote on and suggest new guests for the interview. So if you are a fellow weeb and love CultureScape, then come join us today on Patreon.